Hey guys, welcome back. I know that I have been absent off the blogging for a little bit, took the month of October. I would love to say that I intentionally took it off. Not the case, just got real busy and I felt like that time off was okay. I wanted to come back this month, and as we're looking in November, so if you're watching this in the middle of June, like this originally came in November, and I want to look at gratitude. I think it's a good month. It's a month we focused on Thanksgiving and what it means to sort of serve with the idea of being thankful in mind. And so I want to really walk through a 4-part series this month on what is gratitude, and I want to answer four questions on gratitude. This week, we're going to answer like, what is gratitude? Where does it come from? What is the biblical understanding of gratitude? And I'm going to try and not get super nerdy on this session, because the idea of gratitude really does drive, even phonetically, from the idea of grace. And so I want to spend a little time in 2 Corinthians today, and then just walk you through some basics on what is gratitude. Why is our understanding of the world's idea of gratitude different than what the Bible says gratitude is? And sort of look at some of the differences, and then when Paul kind of walks us through why he's grateful and what drives him to gratitude. In 2 Corinthians, maybe we can apply that a little bit to our interactions with others. So let me read 2 Corinthians 4. I'm just going to read verses 13 through 15. There's a lot of context here that I won't have time to go into, but I'll try and sum it up for you. Verse 13 says, "Since we have the same spirit of faith, according to what has been written, I believed, and so I spoke. We also believe, and so we also speak, knowing that he who raised the Lord Jesus will also raise us with Jesus and bring us with you into his presence." Now, verse 15 is kind of where we need to land. "For it is all for your sake," right? The people of Corinth that he's writing to. "It's all for your sake, so that as grace extends to more and more people, it may increase thanksgiving to the glory of God." And so basic context for 2 Corinthians is Paul is writing about sort of the proclamation of the gospel, and how he if you read earlier in 2 Corinthians, he's sort of a clay pot in the hands of the creator that's used to sort of transport and deliver, like a pot does, right, the message of the gospel. And so he's sort of the implement, or the instrument, as Romans would call it, in the hands of the creator to use and leverage the gospel. So that's sort of the context of 2 Corinthians 4. But he sort of ends that chapter, or that thought, with that idea that we in verse 15, that is, he's doing this for the people of God, for their sake. We'll get into that in a second. So that as grace extends to more and more people, it may increase thanksgiving. That's the ESV version. I'm hoping that your version that you're reading, if you're reading the NIV, and I don't know what it says in some of these other versions, that it reads, "For it is all for your sake, that as grace extends to more and more people, it may increase gratitude." So it's a kind of neat, and I'm gonna look at some of my notes here, but it's kind of a neat phonetic thing that Paul's doing here. The word for grace in ancient Greek, which is what this would have been written in, is charis, and I probably didn't say that right. Sorry, my Greek professors. And it's literally charis if you were to put it into English letters. But what's funny is the word for thanksgiving here is Eucharist, right? Or it's basically charis with the EU on the end, and then a ist after that. So it's where we get the word Eucharist, or sort of where the idea of the Lord's Supper comes from, and exhibiting our thanksgiving. But what's kind of neat about that, without getting too nerdy, is that literally the same root for the word grace is used for the word thanksgiving or gratitude here. And the best way to put it into English to understand sort of the phonetic connection there is to use the words grace and gratitude, because you see the GRA and the GRA. Paul is literally meaning to connect those two words in this passage, that it is literally gratitude spurs from grace, right? That's what he's trying to say here. So let's read it one more time. "For it is all for your sake, so that as grace extends to more and more people, it may increase gratitude or thanksgiving to the glory of God." So literally, he is meaning for us to understand gratitude only within the context of the umbrella of grace. I thought this was a particularly important quote. This is from John Piper. He says that gratitude is the feeling you have about a giver because of his giving something good to you or doing something good for you. Because of him leveraging grace on you, you feel gratitude. right? It's not gratitude at its core. If we're trying to define what is gratitude, gratitude at its core is not, at least biblically, something that we're not thankful or gracious. Like, we don't feel gratitude when it's owed to us, right? I get a paycheck when I work, right? Sure, I'm technically grateful for that paycheck, right? And I'm going to talk about kind of how that feels later. But like, that's not the kind of gratitude that this context is talking about, or necessarily the gratitude that is super exemplary of the gospel, right? What we're talking about is a gratitude that spurs or increases with the level of how much we don't deserve the gift we're given. So, sorry, think about a child that gets a gift on Christmas, right? If he opens, I'm shooting from the hip here, if he opens a gift and it is a bag, let's use a bag of coal, because that's what he deserves, probably not going to be grateful. Let's just say it's socks and underwear, probably not going to be super grateful. But let's say he opens a gift, and this is a we'll use me for example. It's a middle school boy, and he opens the brand new, super expensive gaming system, right? That kid, this was me, right, loses his mind. He goes crazy. He runs all over the house. He's excited. That is an expression of his gratitude, right, for the gift that he's been given and how undeserving he was of that gift. And so the same thing is true of our gratitude. It should spur, or at least increase, when we recognize how much we're given and don't deserve, right? So let's think about it this way. Grace, sort of defined, is unmerited favor. It's the favor of the Lord in our life that we don't deserve. And so gratitude in its biblical form is a response to God's unmerited favor, right? Gratitude at its very root, literally even phonetically, is a response to a gift of the gospel or of whatever that we don't deserve. So when somebody asks you what is gratitude, it's our feeling, our emotional response to a gift of grace that we could never deserve or earn, right? At its very roots, I'm grateful because God saved me, right? That God looked down on me. He saw me in my sin, in my pain, in my wreckage, and said, Spencer Arnold, you're mine. I want you as my child. And that gift I could never earn or deserve. And my response is gratitude. Now, how does that work out in practical application? How can I be grateful for my waitress at the restaurant, right? She's technically doing her job, right? So how do I express gratitude if it seems like I really do? I'm going to pay her. I'm going to give her a good tip. It seems like I really do deserve her doing her best for me because I'm sort of her client at that moment. And that's where I think it's important to understand that an attitude of gratitude, see what I did there? That's kind of neat. An attitude of gratitude puts me in a place of humility. It is me saying, if I say thank you to somebody, it is my expression, at least it should be, that I'm saying, hey, I know that you're doing something for me that I appreciate. I know you're doing. I'm putting myself underneath you. You don't have to do that for me. I don't want you to feel like you're indentured or you're a servant to me. I want you to know that I appreciate what you're giving to me by putting myself underneath you. Right? Philippians 2 says, "Let us not make ourselves greater than the people, but let us find ways to make ourselves, or to make others feel greater than ourselves," right? And that's what gratitude is. It's a response to a gift or a service that somebody has done for us in practical application, by putting ourselves underneath them and making them feel elevated, right? Grace or gratitude at its core is a response to a gift or a service in some instances. To us, it's not sort of a habit we conjure up and sort of will ourselves to have. It's an understanding of our place as not as good as we think we are, but our place as sort of humble servants that receive good things even when we don't deserve it, and our response should be grace. And how that works out in life is pretty simple, right? If I recognize that I get a lot of things that I don't deserve, my natural response is to be grateful for them and then to give to a lot of people things they don't deserve. My response to the gift of grace and the gospel that I've been given, right, that Christ levied on me despite the fact that I deserve the opposite, is to give to others all the love, affection, forgiveness that he gave to me when they don't deserve it either, right? An attitude of gratitude drives us to be grace givers, right? If grace drives me to be grateful, then the response to gratitude is grace, right? To levy for other people, unmerited favor on other people. So to sum all that up, I know that was a lot, and that's why this is a 4-part series. To sum all that up, gratitude essentially is our response to unmerited favor levied towards us because of nothing we've done to deserve it. So hopefully that helps. We're gonna walk through a couple other sections as well. But the what of gratitude? Gratitude is, at its core, a response to grace levying in our lives.